Hi, welcome to Too Emotional. I'm your host, Katie.
It's my kitty bags. I'm coming with you, homegirl.
This is the place where we all gonna be too emotional together. Jessi, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I am so excited you're on. Okay, we for everyone who didn't know, we already tried this once and it did not work. So we're trying it again
Yes.
because your story is incredible and everyone has to hear it. So we're doing this all
Thanks.
over again.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Thanks. Yeah.
hi.
I know. I'm so excited to be here and re-record this because we just technical difficulties
I know. We'll see if it works for us because it might be freezing. So
last
we'll
time.
see. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning. Let's
Yeah.
just start.
Okay.
We're talking about your divorce, so let's talk.
Okay.
How did you meet your ex-husband? How did it begin?
Yeah.
Just start from the
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah. Yes. So I feel like such a baby in Utah, but I met my ex-husband. I had just turned 19. I'd gone to college and I feel like every Mormon girl goes to college and they're like, I'm ready to get married and have babies.
Every
So
Utah girl.
yes, every Utah girl. So I did that. I kind of dated somebody my first semester. I was so in love, thought he was the one. It's okay, he wasn't, and wish him the best of luck. But then the second semester, after my first semester was kind of crazy, I was partying, just doing a lot of stuff. I'd kind of stepped away from that. Um, and wanted, like, I don't know, met this guy through, I want to say mutual friends. I don't know. I do not remember exactly like how the correlation worked. I just remember I got invited to go hot tubbing and there was like 20 of us at my friend's house. And we were hot tubbing and then he was there and I think that was one of the first nights we met. I could be wrong, but we met and I was like, "Oh, okay, this guy seems great. He's so nice. He's so awesome, blah blah blah." We also went on like a group date to we were what was it? We were dyeing eggs. So that was kind of another thing we had kind of met at. But how we officially like connected was he had asked a group of us to go to what's it called? Go to Moab for
Oh,
Jeep
I love
Safari.
Moab.
Yes, so
Good
fun.
place.
And to meet like half like his dad's side. Now, granted, I had like literally just met him. He had asked a bunch of people, and everyone said no but me. So hopped in a stranger's car for 4 hours, literally had no idea who this guy was, but everyone seemed to trust him. So I went along with it and said, why not?
You're also a baby. Like it's those
I
times to
know.
make those mistakes and
Yes.
decisions.
Yeah. Exactly. Like 19, like whatever. Glad he wasn't a serial killer. Like thank goodness. But yeah, so we went there, like connected over that, met his dad's side of the family, and then we kind of started dating from there. From day one though, like looking back, first off, I was 19, he was 20. Both very young. I think I was very naive to what relationships should look like and how they should be. I had no idea. I had gone on lots of dates in high school, had a couple boyfriends, but nothing ever like too serious. And so let's see, we met, and then yeah, so day one relationship was not good. He was a love bomber, and he also talked to a lot of different girls in our over the course of our whole relationship and marriage. Um, and in the beginning, I didn't think much of it. Like we weren't serious. I was just like, okay, well, these are friends. Okay, whatever you commented hard eyes on them. Okay, whatever you called them cute. Obviously that led, and I feel like any girl can relate to this. It led to a lot of fights because here I am, like 19, and I'm like, yeah, I want to marry this guy, but he talks to other women. Like, is that normal? Like, is it normal for a guy to like talk to other girls, flirt with other girls, comment on other? And then I was just like, well, maybe it is. I
What
don't
did he say
know.
when you would bring it, like when you would ask him about it? Like what did he say about it?
He said I was crazy. He just lots of gaslighting. He said it was completely normal to have those types of relationships. He did not see anything wrong with them, yet hid his phone from me. So I'm like, if there's nothing wrong with it, why do you have to hide and delete your phone, like delete stuff
Uh-huh.
off your phone?
How quickly after meeting did you guys start dating? Like officially start dating? Or did you?
Um, I want to say a month or two. Like I'd say a month. It was pretty short before we actually made it official, which I feel like is typical Utah. Pretty quick. And then, being in and a part of the LDS Mormon religion, like you don't do things before marriage. So I kind of thought we're gonna be boyfriend, girlfriend, we're gonna get engaged, we're gonna get married. So I think a lot of the hurt that came from that relationship for me was personally just the fact of him talking to multiple girls, like, and normalizing it. Because like when I would ask people about it, they're like, "Oh, so what? Move on, whatever. He did that. Who cares?" Like, so I feel like there's just a lot of gaslighting around me. Like his
Mhm.
friends didn't care. They called me controlling, like, and I'm just like, if any of those guys are listening, I'm like, you called me controlling, but he messaged multiple women. Like, would your wives, if they get married, I know one of them's married, your wife would be okay with that? Your wife would be totally chill with you hanging out with girls, lying about it, deleting stuff off your phone, talking to multiple women, flirting with them. Like, that's totally fine with your wife. And if she is, that's so great. That would never be okay in my marriage.
It's not okay. But also when you're like
No.
surrounded by a bunch of like 18 to 20-year-old college kids,
Yeah.
like of course the boys are going to be like, it's fine, you're being ridiculous. Like
Yes. Yeah.
there's
Exactly.
no real,
Yeah.
yeah, there's no
Yeah,
real examples. Like,
exactly. So it was rough. So when I introduced him to my parents were not a fan, and they would still stand by that today. And I was just, I always had a rough relationship with my parents. And so I kind of was like, well, I don't really care what they say, whatever.
mhm.
Um,
And also when
and
you're that young and you're so in love, you're just like, you don't get it. Like
yeah,
you don't get
no,
it.
no, you don't get it at all. And so I was like, whatever. Um, and So we dated. And there's just like red flags from the beginning. Like he always was couch surfing and living with different friends and people, which is fine. Whatever, you're in college, do you, bro?
Mhm.
But I think looking at it from a standpoint as a wife, like meeting my husband never did that. And like I
Mhm.
don't know why I was like, oh, whatever, he's doing what he's doing, it's fine. Um, so we dated on and off. We broke up a million times. We screaming, fighting. I ended up going back. I stayed in Manti area while I was going to Snow College, Ephraim area. Stayed down there. He was living up in Orem with some friends. Um, kept finding out more stuff. It just was not a healthy relationship. So we kept breaking up on and off. I ended up yeah, staying at Snow College, going back to school for another year, and he he ended up moving back into a house with a bunch of guys, but like he wasn't going to school, he was just down there. And so we continued to date. He took another girl on dates, which is so really random because fast forward a couple years, we ended up living in like pretty much not the same house, but like she was the front house and where we were like the back house. Like it was two little houses on like the same property.
Well, that's
And then
wild.
she ended up getting divorced too, like literally just so crazy, random. But he dated this chick who was like a lot younger. Like I want to say she's 4 years younger than both of us. So she was like either just graduated high school or was like about to graduate high school. And at this point, he would have been, I want to say 21. I don't know. So I guess 3 years younger. Still though, I was
Still,
like,
high school and just out of high school, they're babies.
their
Like,
baby. It was just
uh-huh.
really weird. So that kind of happened. And then we kind of dated on and off for like the next year. And then it got to the point where I was kind of like, what are we doing? Like, are we together or not? Like, are we getting married or not? We've been together, I think at this point, a little over a year. Um, and I had met his like friends and family in Arizona. I'd met his dad's side a couple times. And at this point, I was kind of like, where are we going? So he was like, yeah, I want to get engaged. Like, I can't afford a ring. We're both young, whatever. I did
Mhm.
not care about that.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's fine. Like, but I think every little girl does want a pretty ring when they get married. Like, I don't think that that's something that should be shamed upon at all.
Uh-huh. And
But
also, if you're can't really afford anything, it might not be the time to be getting married and committing.
exactly, exactly. So I think that was also a hindsight. Should have, whatever.
But you're
Now
a
at this
baby.
point, yeah, at this point, I'm 20, I think. Yeah, 20. Wait. Am I 20? Yeah, I'm 20. And we met, so blah, 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 blah. I ended up buying a car from his brother. We had driven up to Springville, Utah, where his brother was living at the time, and they were selling little Hyundai Sonata. That was my favorite car I've ever had. It was old, but like the amount of room that car had, and it drove well. I ended up putting over like 200,000 miles on it. Freaking love that car so much. And anyway, so we bought it and we're driving back. And this is like so significant because we'd been fine. We hadn't been fighting. Far as my recollection, we had not been fighting. And we end up like we're going through the canyon and I was like, well, I just bought this car. Like, so are we like gonna get married? Blah, blah, blah. Turns into like a huge fight. He's like, I'm not committing to marriage. But I'm like, what the freak? Like, I'm like, we've been totally fine. So we're like fighting and yelling and whatever this whole car ride back. And I'm just like, okay. So we end up breaking up. And this is, I want to say, in like, I don't know, May. Yeah, because he had come to my brother's high school graduation. So it was like May-ish, early June when this was all happening. We did not really date over the summer. He actually started seeing another girl that was down there. And this is so hard for me because people always want to be like, oh, Jesse's the bad guy, Jesse's this. I was so in love with him. I'm like, he was dating this other girl and didn't have a car, and I let him use my car to go see her. Like, what is wrong with my brain?
Because you were in love with him. And
Like,
he's such a big part of your
yes.
life at that point.
Yes. Yeah. Like I'm just like people like want to blame me for so much stuff and I'm like I gave that man every inch of my life too much. Like I'm like I did everything and anything for him. And so whatever. That happened. He was seeing this other girl. I was so pissed about it. And then I ended up actually moving up to Provo because I was like, I just need to get out of this situation. So I ended up moving up to Provo, getting a lease there. Actually, I think I moved home for my with my parents for like 1 month out of all of my years. It was like a month. Got a job working in Orem at a call center, and then he found out that I was like seeing another guy because he had had friends that worked at this job
Mhm.
before. And so I don't know, found out I was dating this other guy and immediately was like, I want to propose to you. I want to be with you,
Course.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So in my naivety, I was like, oh, he wants to marry me. He wants to be with me. And then like I have other people that I made friends with at this job and they're like, wait, he found out you're dating someone, so now he wants to be with you. Like a lot of even girls and guys that I'd become friends with were like, no, that's not cool. Whatever. So he
But
ended
you're in love
up,
with him and you're young.
yes, yeah. So I think his sister had actually come up and we got our nails done. I kind of figured what was happening. Um, and he bought like a ring from Walmart and then took me and proposed to me. And then we drove to my parents' house and yeah, they weren't very happy, but they were also like, okay, like if you're gonna do it, it's fine, whatever. Um, but then we were like, well, we want to get married in October. We had gotten engaged in August and we were like, well, we want to get married in October. And they were like, yeah, no, which hindsight, good. And so we ended up, I was still in Provo at this time, and my lease I don't think was going to be up till April anyway. Like it was like a, student lease. And so he ended up deciding to move up to Wyoming, which was so weird because all this time and everyone's like, oh, you guys' relationship. No, the whole time we're fighting and screaming. Like our relationship was never, I cannot even think of like we did not have a healthy relationship. And so even though we got engaged, all this stuff, it was constant back and forth, um, crying, finding out about other women. Um,
Was it like that from the very beginning? Like, was the fighting like that from the beginning, or were you guys
mhm,
ever?
It was always like that. Like I want to say like we met day one and then it was like day two. Like it was like I was just like, oh, he's like really close with a lot of girls. Like that's very strange. Like I've been cheated on by a bunch of guys. Okay. I feel like cheated on is one thing. I think when you're having constant emotional affairs, I don't care if you're married or not. An emotional affair is an emotional affair. Your
It is the same. Yeah.
boyfriend, girlfriend, and you're in college and you plan to get married, like, and you're texting other girls. I don't and whether or not like there's anything physical in my head, like I'm like, if you're calling them cute and sending heart eye emojis,
It's
like
still.
no, and then both of those girls had liked him. Like, and so like it's like him leading them on. So it's just it's so weird. Um, so he ended up deciding to move up to Wyoming, which I thought was very strange. I was like, we're engaged, we're trying to plan a wedding, and you're moving to Wyoming. Like, what for? But as I kind of tell more of this story and stuff, like he couch surfed, hopped, lived out of his car. Like it's looking back, I'm like, this actually isn't very abnormal for his personality. But in that time frame, I'm like, why is he always moving places? Like, why? Like, I don't understand. Moved in with some mutual friends from college. He had been friends with them first. And so I was like, well, I want to move up there. Like, we're freaking engaged. And so I hadn't like fully moved up there because I still had an apartment in Provo. So like still had this lease I had to pay on monthly. Um, I needed to get a job in Wyoming if I'm going to do this. So I ended up staying with the house that we were living in. It was like the backyard house of his friend's parents. So like they own the house, but then his friend and his girlfriend at the time were living there. Um, and now they're married like with kids and stuff, but they were living at this house and so he was living there and then his friend's brother also lived there. So, but they had kind of like a mother-in-law suite in the basement and so I was like, "Oh, like I can live here." But because of all the stories he had told them, they did not like me and they were like, "We don't want this person in our house." So I didn't really get the opportunity to really live there or stay there. I want to say it was maybe a week or two. So I randomly posted on Facebook and was like, "Hey, is anybody like renting out a room or, renting out anything? Would love to chat." I had one person respond, and it's like so crazy. She finding out later was like, I literally had a spiritual prompting that I just needed to have this girl live with us. And like her and I are still really close. She has 5 kids, like helped babysit them. She's come to my wedding. Like she came to Quinn's baby blessing. And so, like, really amazing people in the world when, like, you don't think there is anybody there for you. Like, there is always someone, and God is always, like, watching out for you. So, lived with them. Their oldest is now like 16, and I'm like, no, like, you were a baby. I ended up working at a preschool in Wyoming, and her youngest was there. Like, not her youngest, well, two. They technically both were, but I taught one of her kids, and like, so it's really cool. I love them. Um, and so I ended up living there. Well, they started to kind of see our relationship. They kind of saw how it was, a lot of fighting, and they were just like, he does not seem like he's really ready to get married or want to entertain being a dad or really anything of the sorts. And so I kind of was like catching on to this because I was like, this isn't, this is the 400th person to tell me this, whether it's his friends, my friends, family, like that. Like so many people were like, this is not healthy. But I think because we had been together for so long at this point, almost 2 years at this point of just off and on, off and on, it's almost like trauma bond. Oh, well, because we did things, together before marriage, nobody's going to want me anymore. I'm too scared, blah, blah, blah. And so I was just kind of like, okay, like, I don't know what to do anymore at this point. So we ended up having a conversation and it was like really hard, but it was kind of a mutual. We ended our engagement. Essentially it boiled down to like, he's like, well, I just want to hang out with my friends. Like, I don't want to have kids yet, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, what the freak? Like, you're 21, no, 21, 20, I don't know, somewhere. And I just was like, okay, like, then why have you been on and off with me for 2 years? Like, this makes no
Uh-huh.
sense. So he ended up packing his bags and moving back. I want to say it was Ephraim Manti area because he had friends down there and could live at his friend's mom's house. So back to that whole routine he was doing. So I was kind of like, okay, finally, like done, blah, blah, blah. You're still in love with this person. And while all this is going on too, I had actually met my biological birth mom.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and he had met her too, and she was another person that was like, this just seems a lot like my ex, and like I wouldn't like this isn't good. So I was just like, yeah, this needs to be done. So ended it. I was living in Provo, he was in Ephraim Manti. I don't think we actually saw each other for like a month. like a full month of like no, I was like getting into fitness, my mental health. I moved back to Provo. Like I was like, we're gonna go to BYU. We're gonna get like I had done an internship as an athletic trainer, so I wanted to go back and get my bachelor's in athletic training, sports medicine. So I was kind of like I wasn't really going on dates or anything. I want to say I went on like one date with a guy and we kissed. Like nothing serious though. Kissed me at the front door. Like nothing like crazy.
You're focused on your
Yeah,
goals.
yes. Well, he had come up and about a month later. I had had his dog this whole time. Which I feel like when you look into like narcissistic relationships and like controlling and stuff, like yes, I was watching his dog, but that was still like a control factor because like that was still like a tie to him in a way of like, okay, well, like we're broken up, but you still have to watch. Does that make sense?
No,
What?
it does. And also, like, it's his way of coming back, having a reason to come back and see you, a
Yep.
reason for you to constantly be thinking about him.
Hmm.
And if I
Hmm.
can get her, I've seen in any narcissistic relationship I've seen,
Yeah.
it's always been like, oh, well, if I can get them to do this thing for me, then we're still connected and they're still
Yep.
thinking about me. And
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I didn't think of it like that at the time. I mean, I didn't think a lot of things back at that
Mhm.
time until I started doing therapy. But yeah, so he had come back about a month later, to get a couple of his belongings. I randomly had some like a jacket or something, and then his dog. And things, we added some intoxication, super late night, talking, crying, just hooking up, not a good thing. Well, the next morning, just to be safe, not that like I wasn't technically safe. I'm like, I don't want to say too much, but like I took a plan B pill the next
Mhm.
morning and like I really didn't need to. I'll just leave it at that. I really didn't need to, but I did it just to be cautious. Um, and because I was like, there's no way I'm having a baby with this guy. And anyway, so 2 months go by. Like, and I'm just working, doing whatever. Like, and I go to the Provo neighborhood market and I have like a feeling that I need to take a pregnancy test. And I already finished my shopping. I was literally trying to leave the store and this feeling would not go away. And I'm like, what the heck? I just ended my period. Like, I'm not pregnant. This is a joke. I get like a 98-cent pregnancy test, go home. I'm on the phone with my friends, pee on it. It's literally bright red. It's like 2 lines. And I'm like, what the freak? Like, oh my gosh. And so then my friend is like, go back to the store and buy more. And I did, and they were all positive. So I'm like freaking out. So then I'm like calling him, right? Like I'm like, hey, you need to answer the phone, blah, blah, blah. Like it just ignoring me, like reading my messages. Like he's just like, I'm not doing this. We're done. We're over, blah, blah, blah. And I had to like call his friend to tell him to answer the phone. And then he thought I was making it up. He thought it wasn't his. He like every excuse in the book. And I was like, I've literally not slept with anyone. You can get a paternity test. Like absolutely ridiculous. Um, we ended up meeting up. I was like a little bit sick with my son, like threw up here and there, like nothing crazy. Um, and he, like one of the first things he said to me was to have an abortion. We're not gonna be able to afford this child. And I'm like, in my brain, if you've known me at all for the last over 2 years at this point, I'm like, I've always wanted to be a mom. I don't care. Like this is my kid. That's not something that is an option for me. Adoption's not an option for me. Like I'm having this baby.
Get
Um,
in or get out.
yes, exactly. And so we decided because we were so smart to elope. And so we decided to elope. Nobody knows except a couple of his friends, a couple of my friends, like nothing serious. And then I don't think we told like my family. I don't remember his family when we told them, but we did not tell my family until I was like almost 17 or 18 weeks because all I remember is that we FaceTimed them for the gender reveal call, like at the ultrasound. Because this was in 2020, so it was during COVID. So it was, I don't know, I feel like before everyone did gender reveals. I don't know. Maybe people did them before, but like I feel like they weren't a huge thing until like after
No,
that.
they really weren't.
Yeah. And so we just FaceTimed in the ultrasound room. Um, and then things kind of started going downhill with my family. Like I was not really close to them. Just it was not good. I had not ever really had a close relationship with them regardless, but with me getting pregnant outside of marriage in the church. Like it was just, I don't know. Like they were like somewhat supportive, but like not at the same time. Like it was just a rough relationship. And so things kind of started going downhill. We ended up getting sealed like in the temple in the church and everything in like November of 2020. Like my family wasn't there. Pretty much at this point, I had like cut my family out. Like I was not dealing with it. I had had so many like panic attacks while I was pregnant and just like it was not good for me or for the baby or anything. And at this point, like I would say like the best time of my relationship was actually probably a little bit of my pregnancy. Wasn't the best, but like we didn't fight as much while I was pregnant because of how much stuff was going on with my family. So it was kind of like just swapped roles, but like then the second we had a baby, it just went back to it because my family wasn't in the picture anymore. So it was like we just went back to it. So fast forward, go into labor New Year's Eve, have baby New Year's Day.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, super fun. While I am in labor though, and it's so annoying. While I'm in labor, they're about to break my water. We live about 35 minutes away from our hospital that I was delivering at. And we had somebody watching the dog, and he decided to leave and go play with the dog because he was tired, wanted to see the dog, wanted to check up on them, even though the dog was completely fine and being watched by our neighbors. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know, left me during that, whatever. So that like really peeved me. And then the second I had
well, as
my
it should. I feel like that would bug
yes,
anybody. Like that's
like
a
I'm just like in the middle of lately, what? I don't even know. So then the second I had my son, like I just knew that I needed to be done in this relationship. Like I think we had like a little bit of newborn bliss, but my son was a really hard baby, super colicky, super refluxy, was not easy at all to manage as a baby. So that doesn't help a relationship at all
no.
either. Constant fighting and I don't know, I wasn't working and then like had a job and then he got into like substitute teaching because he was trying to go to school but like didn't ever finish going to school. Um, it was just weird. And so I'm trying to think what happened after that. So then about 4 months into us after having Quinn, we went to Arizona to visit some of his family, his mom's side of the family. And it was not good at all. Actually, I think he was like 5 months because it was COVID, so everyone's wearing masks and like nobody met or held Quinn when he was born, like at all, because that's just the way it was in those years.
Yeah.
So go to Arizona. He had been hot like he had pulled that like he was like I need to be alone. I need space from everybody. His family I feel like lectured him quite a bit on like being a dad and being present and like you need to grow up now. Like you have a child. This isn't a game anymore. And so that was kind of happening. Well, he ended up like we all left the house, but Quinn was asleep in his mom's room, like 5 months old. He decided to like leave and because he said he wasn't alone. And I'm like, you're literally alone with a 5 month old sleeping. Like you're not like he's asleep. Like I don't even yeah. So went through like a major fight there, depressive fit there. And then I had like brought up he needed to go on like antidepressants or anxiety meds or something. He did not think that was the case. He tried like 9 different like ADHD pills and nothing worked. And I'm like, it's because you have like anxiety or depression. Like that's why those medications aren't helping you.
Yeah.
So that happened. And then we got back to Utah and we had kind of talked in Arizona, I'm pretty sure, about like getting a divorce, talked to his mom, like if we need to separate, can I come live here? Can one of us come live here? Whatever it is. So that had been kind of talked about. And then we got back. Um, at this point, it's like July. So Quinn had just like turned 6 months old and we were going to go visit people up in Wyoming. Well, for whatever reason, he said he needed to stay behind and couldn't do it. So I was like, okay. Um, I ended up driving up first because I was like, well, I'm going. And then I was working at a little in-home daycare down the street, and my ex had texted me saying like, "Oh, the car's not starting. I'm not able to come." And I'm like, "It was completely fine. What are you talking about?" So I texted my neighbor and I was like, "Can you go see like what he's doing?" Or like, not my neighbor. Well, she's technically my neighbor, but I also my boss. I was working for
Yeah.
her. And she was like, "Yeah, the car's complete." Like, essentially, I feel like they went over there, and then he was like, "Oh, it's working. I got it to work." Just because he'd gotten caught. Like there
Yeah.
was nothing going on. Like, um, drove up there, didn't spend any time with me or my son, like spent time with his friends, which is so weird. Like I'm like they were about to have a baby because our kids are like 6 months apart. And so that happened. And then we drove home separately and I was just like, I'm done. I want a divorce. Like I'm so over this and kind of come to the conclusion, well, let's just separate. Let's separate. Let's just blah, blah, blah,
Take a
whatever.
break.
So we decided to legally separate. I was like, he kept threatening divorce, and I was like, if this happens, like you threaten it again, I'm gone. Essentially, that happened. I was like, I'm going to Arizona. He did not believe I was leaving him until literally the day I drove away. Like I think was even like because I'd gone back to him so many times because I had just been so done so many times. He just thought that I was gonna stay. Um, so I go to Arizona. I had a few jobs lined up for myself there, just working at a preschool. So wasn't too concerned with that, but literally had like a $5,000 credit card and that was it. And he sent me, or not sent me, but like bought some diapers and wipes and that was it. That's all I had. Packed up clothes like as much as I could fit in my Sonata and that was it. The plan was to like do therapy, help our relationship. He was going to move out there. We were going to get an apartment in Arizona. That never happened. So I'm working, also meeting people that kind of know about our relationship. I'm living with his mom, who's, familiar with our relationship. And a lot of people are just like, I don't know, this just doesn't sound good. But then I was so hopeful that it would happen. I guess I forgot to mention too, all during this time, I had started therapy while I was pregnant with my son. So I had started therapy in October of 2020. Um, and he had come with me to one of my personal sessions once or twice. And essentially, like, I'd brought things up in our relationship of just like, yeah, like I've felt this or that. And he would just get pissed because the therapist was like, yeah, you gotta get a job. You gotta, or not get a job, but like, you gotta have a stable income for your family. You gotta stop playing video games.
Mhm.
Like, friends are not everything at this point in your life anymore. And I do think friends have a great role to play in people's lives, but at the end of the day, it's your husband and kids that matter, and
They're the
friends shouldn't.
priority.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Friends are great, and you need that, but family is
yes.
the most important.
Exactly. And so I yeah, that was just rough and he didn't care what the therapist said. So at this point we had like connected with a different therapist and so fast forward a little bit, it's October now of 21 and I had fall break and so I decided to fly back to Utah for my fall break to see him. And found out he was talking to a girl and I was just like, I am so done at this point. A message had popped up on his laptop that had said, I'm done. And I was like, clearly that's a girl. Like, I don't know what guy's texting his
Uh-huh.
buddy, I'm done. The number wasn't saved and there was no other messages. So, anyway, I tried asking him about it, wouldn't answer, wouldn't give me a response. As soon as I started yelling, gaslighting me, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. I ended up reaching out to this girl not to be crazy or anything, but I wanted to, know if she had known he was married. Nope, had no idea he was married, had no idea he had a kid. And she had been divorced too, like something like married at 18 and then divorced at 19. So super like short marriage. So it's like weird that that wasn't shared either.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know whatever happened with them, and probably good that I don't, because it's just not a good thing. But
Sometimes
um
it's better left unknown.
yes. So all I know is from what they both said, they just went on a date. I don't believe that, but that's okay. I personally never would like have even though we were separated, like there was nothing legally separated at that point, and we both were like yeah, we're not seeing other people. We're not dating other people. Like we're working on our marriage. Like so in no way, shape, or
Mhm.
form did I ever think that bringing somebody into the relationship was even an option. Um, and at this point too, we had like kind of stopped partying, like marijuana usage, like any of that. We hadn't been doing any of that. He had gone on like a boys trip to Oregon and they were all doing that and like I caught him in a lie about that. Like there was just so much stuff that happened while we were separated too that I was just like I cannot live this life and relationship anymore. But at this point, I had no family, I had no friends. I was in an unfamiliar state. I literally was living with soon to be my ex-husband's mom, who she was great, like helped with a lot of stuff. But I'm like, well, once we get divorced, I'm not living with her. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I filed for like legal separation, and then divorce papers. Like, so I filed for like separation, I think over like Thanksgiving or something like that, or somewhere in between October and November. And then we had like submitted all of our court documents and divorce papers like 2 days before my son turned 1. And like really hard. I feel like people don't talk about like even though you're in an abusive relationship. And luckily, I did not have like a long drawn out court thing. Like he didn't want custody ever. He just wanted visitation rights every other weekend. Like so and I did all of our paperwork. We did not have a lawyer, so I was luckily not drawn out in a long divorce process. It was really quick. But people I think don't realize too of like I remember going I want to say he had Quinn. I want to say the day, like, we had kind of started working out our own arrangement of like when he could see Quinn and when I had him. And he also, this is like one of the craziest things. And maybe people who've been through this situation have like different perspectives. But with my son, like, it doesn't matter if you work or not, like if you have 50-50, like it's just your responsibility to take that child to like daycare or whatever. He
Hmm.
literally was like, I don't, how would we ever do 50-50 if I'm working? And I'm like, wait, but I'm working too. So what do you mean?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
just like a weird thing. Like I'm just like, I don't know, I'm sure.
Very selfish thinking of like, well, that's going to
Yeah.
inconvenience me.
Oh, he was always an inconvenience. Like every time he was able to see Quinn had to be on his times, his place, his terms. Like so rough. But I'm trying to think where I left off. I got kind of sidetracked. Oh, where was I? Okay, yeah. So we got divorced. I after we signed our divorce papers, I like sat in the parking lot. I called my best friend at the time and like bawled my eyes out to her. I was like, why am I crying over my divorce? Like I know that this is like the right thing I'm doing, but like why does this freaking suck so bad? I think it's the realization too of like, even though he didn't have custody, didn't want custody, and only had visitation rights, I was like, there's going to be days I don't see my kid. And I think that's what was hitting me more than the divorce of like, I never planned on being a single mom. I never planned on sharing my son. Like, that's not what I planned. So about a month goes by. I ended up meeting my now husband, and I did not plan on dating or anything. I told my husband that now, and he said the same thing. But then that
So they
obviously
always come right
happened.
when you least expect it.
Yes, yeah. I literally called like my friends at the time, and I was like, I literally like called, she's like my second mom. I called her, she's in Wyoming, and I like called her and I was like, I'm not dating him. Like I was like, God is not putting another man in my life. Like I'm not doing. She was like, yeah, God has a really funny way of working. And like he is the best thing. I like God knew exactly like what I needed. But I was also very content being not stay at home mom, single mom. And I was gonna be fine with that. I was like, me and Quinn can just we can go travel together, we can go do whatever we want together. Like I was
Uh-huh.
very content and happy with that. Met my now husband and everything was like bliss. And then my ex decided that he wanted to go to therapy now after refusing therapy for every session I had. He walked out on a session. Like he could not handle like he told me anytime I asked him to go to therapy that I was the only problem and the only one with issues and I had to work it out myself. I'm like, that's not how therapy works. But
There's a
okay.
little trend here of every time he thinks you're moving on or leaving to just jump right back in.
Yes. And literally, like, we're divorced. Like, our divorce it was like official after I had met my now husband. people might think that's weird, whatever. Like we were not seeing each other. We were done. Like I'm like, our divorce papers were filed in December and like divorce papers and getting a judge to sign them. I didn't know how that worked. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't
Well,
know how to.
divorce takes a long time, like sometimes too. Like
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people who like meet their next person.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, sorry, whatever. So he was like, oh, I'll go to therapy, blah. I'm like, no, we're done. Like, I'm like, this is so far gone. And then yeah, he just would get very defensive. We ended up using like a co-parenting app. So everything was recorded and saved if ever need be, which was great. So my husband and I, we met, and then I don't know, my ex was kind of in and out of the picture, watched my son when he could. Um, I think he did the best with what he was given and had a really hard time with that. I mean, he was, I don't want to say single dad because he hardly had him, but that's what he told people. And if that's how he felt, then that's how he felt. But I mean, he did the best he could with what he was given. And so then about, let's see. So we're living in Arizona. My husband and I got married a little over a year after we met, and loved Arizona, planned on staying there. We got pregnant a few months after we got married. I didn't want a big age gap, and so got pregnant, I don't know, 4 months after we got married. And which he knew, like my husband knew that I was like, that's something that is kind of, if I do get married again and it's in a decent span time, like I don't want a huge age gap between my kids. I mean, 3 years is a lot for Utah, but that
Uh-huh.
was fine with me. And so had my daughter, and then after we had my daughter, all during this time, if people are wondering, like our relationship wasn't good. It did not get better. Fighting, threatening to go to court, none of that ever happened, but that was kind of the relationship that I constantly had. We went to mediation, I think 2 or 3 times, and never changed anything in the paper. I think we only changed stuff the first time, and that was just the amount of time he saw him got shortened because he wanted it shortened. Not me, not a judge, his
Mhm.
choice. That's what mediation's for. For anybody
Yeah.
who's listening who wants to blame me, I'm like,
Uh,
um, so we
He
did that.
also could have fought if he wanted more. Like,
Yes. Yeah. And he never did. So I'm like, that's, I don't know. So that happened kind of in the 2 years, 3 years, however long we were in Arizona for. Had my daughter. We started talking to my family again. Started talking like wanting, to buy a house, do different things, but living in Arizona was so expensive with our apartment, and
it is.
yeah, it's rough. And so we had started talking about maybe living with my parents one day, not a set date, nothing like that. Well, I had mentioned that to my ex, like, hey, we might look at moving into Idaho or Utah. Don't know, because my husband is still in school going to BYU online, but was maybe going to do some in-person stuff. So didn't know. Nothing set in stone. That just briefly mentioned it, throwing it out there, might happen, might not. Well, I get a message, I don't know, 4 months after my daughter's born. I don't know, in June, May, something like that. And I woke up and he was like, I'm moving to Utah. I have promising job there. And I knew exactly who it was with. Like when your intuition, when you just know, so I feel like Taylor Frankie Paul. I don't know if you listen to any of her
Oh,
stuff.
I love her.
No, because she always is literally like, if my gut or anything says it's off, it's always correct. And that is my
Mhm.
gut to a T. Like, I'm like, if I have like, anytime I felt he was like doing something or not being like, I was right every single time, or I found out every single time. And I'm just like, so my gut, I was like, I know exactly who you're moving in with. I know exactly this promising job that you have. He was really into like day trading and getting rich quick. It's not panned out for any of his friends. So I don't
It
know.
doesn't pan out for anybody. I've never heard a
No,
successful story.
no, me neither. And so I feel like you hear successful stories from like the friend of the friend of the friend who they like got into that. Like, I'm like, yeah, and that happened for one person. Like,
Uh-huh. Yep.
so that was what he was super big into. I knew exactly what he was talking about. The message was written like ChatGPT, trying to be like logistical and professional and what, and I was just like, whatever. I was at work, so, and I'm also like newly postpartum, so I'm like, what the freak it did I just like get into? And so I was like, started talking to my husband, and then my ex had told me, well, if you guys don't end up moving out here, I'll just move back in 3 months. And I was like, well, I thought you just got a promising job. Like
Uh-huh.
that's why I also knew exactly what he was doing and who he was moving in with. So we did end up deciding to move to Utah with my parents. So at this point, about 4 months had gone by and he hadn't seen Quinn except maybe 2 or 3 FaceTime calls, I want to say. That's it. And then we decided, whatchamacallit? So we decided to move in with my parents. Parents were not okay with him coming to the house. That's every right, it's their house. Something with
Fair
court.
enough.
Yeah, so he knew that we were living there, which is supposed to be said in, custodial papers and stuff. And since I had done all of our papers, I didn't know how to transfer them to Utah, so I had been talking to a lawyer just about like how those things work. But I also knew that um how like custody and stuff works in Utah is Utah's a very pro mom state. So I kind of was like, maybe it's good that we're back in Utah only because I'm like, I could take him to court and I could like get supervised visits and stuff. I only say the supervised visits not because I don't think he was a bad dad, but there was a lot of things like my son came home. Let's just say this. He has not had any stomach issues since we've moved to Utah. But in Arizona, almost every time he came home, like he was having like throwing up or like diarrhea issues. And my son, we're all a little bit lactose intolerant. I got a blood draw done. He is mildly lactose. I am. My daughter is. My now husband is. Like, anyway, and I had asked that like multiple times to like not feed him that. But, like, I'd FaceTime him and he's eating mac and cheese at like 8 in the morning. Like, so it's just hard because it's like a lot of that was happening. And like, sure, is that the stupidest thing? Like, people can be like, that's the stupidest thing that you're going to fight him over. And it's like, yeah, well, you clean up diarrhea and poop every
It's
single,
also hurting him. Like
yes.
two of my kiddos have allergies, and one of them is like
Yeah.
not lactose intolerant necessarily, but like tummy,
Yeah.
like milk. And I'd be
Yes.
so mad if someone fed him milk after I told him not to, like
Yes.
anybody.
Yeah.
And as a
Exactly.
dad, you should care about what hurts their tummies.
Yes. So that was just frustrating. And there was other things too. So I kind of was looking to the lawyer route. At this point, he hadn't seen my son in like 4 months, but the lawyer said, like, in no way, shape, or form can he have overnights. Like, your son is too young. The address he had provided, I had done like a deep dive on. The lease was up a month after like we had moved there. Like, I had done this deep dive, found where he was living. He just gave me like, I don't even think it was the apartment number. I can't remember. But it was the complex, and I don't know, when you're crazy and been cheated on a million times, you can do a lot of stalkerish, deep diving stuff. Um, so I did that, found out, called him out on it, like, where are you living after this? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I know that you're who you are living with. Like, and the apartment did not give out any information, but I was like, oh, it's so and so. Yes, yeah, because I just played like I knew exactly who it was. And it was. My gut told me, and I was not wrong. So he ended up seeing my son. He took him to breakfast. My husband like stayed in the parking lot the whole time just because we did not know. Like, we hadn't seen him in 4 months and did not know what this was going to pan out. Turned out to be
I'd
like
be safe
40.
than sorry.
Yeah, and it was like 45-minute breakfast. That was it. My son obviously knew who he was, and we will never take that away from him, but he like was a little like mommy, like when he was going, not
Uh-huh.
because he didn't know who he was, but like what if like he saw, I don't know, one of his friends every other weekend, and that was it.
Yeah.
And not even that, maybe only once a month if that friend couldn't hang out. Like,
Yeah.
so it's not like they like my ex FaceTimed all the time. It wasn't like that. And so I think that was really hard. I guess I do got to backtrack a little bit. His dog died before he moved to Utah, and this dog was so important to him. Everybody in his life knows how important it is to him, and I feel like that is where his mental health started taking a downfall because the importance of this dog, which is okay. I would not prioritize a dog over certain things, but some people do.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's obviously some stuff going on.
yes.
So,
So, and I think when this dog passed away, it really messed with him mentally and emotionally. I think like that was his person. He had no one else, and that was his person. And so I feel like that's why he randomly moved to Utah. He bought a new car, he bought a Tesla, like did really rash things, but like stopped paying child support, was like started to disappear out of my son's life more than what he had done in Arizona. He did his best in Arizona, but it was really going downhill. So after this breakfast, we had kind of agreed to like, because the lawyer had told me like no overnights, and my ex had straight up told me in an email that he was going to sleep on the floor with my son because it was a one bedroom apartment. I'm not comfortable with that. He also would not let me come to the apartment, which is also not allowed. Like moms or dads have every right to see a visible place that their child is living. And because Utah is so pro mom and Arizona, they're not. It's very 50-50. They do not care. They do not care what they're doing. Um, so that was another thing he wouldn't. So I was like, yeah, you're not doing overnights. Like
Yeah.
you won't give me an inch of like where you're living, what you're doing, what like and to
Hmm.
have any relationship, whether good or bad, you have to communicate. And he
Yeah.
would not. And like my husband and I have always been very open of like, we're going here, we're doing this, this is the time, this is blah, blah, like very communicative, probably too blunt for him. Like, I'm not going to be nice, like, but this is A, B, C, D, E. Can you please
Uh-huh.
provide at least A and B? And
Yeah.
that would not happen. So, um, that was actually the last time he saw him was in September. He had taken him to breakfast and then he had tried to do a couple meetups with us, but like again, it was like I'd get a message late at night the night before, can you meet at this park the next morning? Like I cannot do that. Like
Hmm.
I can't just up at root what we're doing today because you decided you wanted to see him and no court is okay with that either. That's why courts have in place custody and times so that those sort of things don't happen. So fast forward every 2 to 3 weeks, I'd get an email. Oh, can I see you tomorrow? And I'm like, can you like, and I had this like scripted out. I literally would copy and paste the same email every time. It was like, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. Please, can you communicate 7 days in advance with us so that we don't plan anything? We want you guys to have a relationship. We love you both. Just please, like,
Hmm.
pretty like blunt, straightforward to the point, but nice.
Fair enough too.
Yes, never would respond to that and never would agree to that either. So fast forward a little bit, it's technically in his custodial papers from Arizona, it is his year for Christmas. And he wanted to take him on a road trip. And I was like, no. I'm like, you've seen him one time over the course of 9 months. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm not comfortable with that. And I was really scared he was going to take me to court over it because that is like his technical visitation rights. But like my family was like, okay, what? He takes you to court and he's like, just deal with it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So
You can explain that to a judge. A judge is gonna understand.
yes. And so I was like, okay, so I don't let him go on this trip. He went and saw like his mom's side, he went and saw his dad's side, FaceTimed me for Christmas, and then FaceTimed my son on his birthday, which is January 1st, and then didn't hear from him for about a month. So finding more and more stuff out, he had kind of gone and seen a lot of different people over the course of a month, but I hadn't heard from him for a month. And then I get a call from his brother that he had passed away. And I thought it was a joke at first. It was like literal shock. I did not believe it. More stuff came out. We found out it was suicide. And I literally was in such shock because I'm like, what the freak? Like, you didn't say anything. Like, but I mean, it's not like he was gonna go say that to me,
Yeah.
but he had kind of made his rounds, said his goodbyes, and then I mean, like, how the freak do you tell a 4-year-old that? Like,
Yeah.
he had always kind of referred to him as other dad. That's just his lingo and his what he's, said. And
Of his world, that's what kids do.
yeah, and he had brought like it's not like my son brings him up all the time, and it's not like we have a reason to bring him up all the time. And so, but like my husband and I both were like, if whenever he brings it up, whether it's next week, whether it's in a few months, like we have to tell him that because that's only fair to him. I think it was a few weeks after he passed away, my son was like, "Oh, where's other dad?" And where I don't know what he said. And so I was like, "Oh gosh," I was like, "We got to explain this." So just said him he's in heaven, and he's an angel looking over you, and now my son, like, that's just how he is. He's like, oh, other dad is an angel. And like, he looks over me. And that's how he's like, I don't know, processed it, I guess. And as he gets older, I know there'll be more questions. And depending on age and stuff, is how we would talk about certain things with him. But yeah, not a healthy relationship. And then ending with that is like just so crazy, especially because he knows how much like I had went through with like suicidal thoughts after my pregnancy with my son. He had pulled that stunt a few times with me. Like, I shouldn't say stunt, but like he'd
No, no,
pulled,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's hard because it's like something I don't know. It's a really weird thing to process someone that you were in love with at some point, really disliked and really had a hard relationship with, but they're still the biological father of your son. I don't
Uh-huh.
know.
And
So,
it's still like because before, like if he didn't die, you always have the hope of like, well, what if it gets better? What if the relationships get better?
yes.
What if he gets help?
Yes.
What
Yeah.
if like your son could have a great relationship,
Yeah.
but then it kind of just like cuts it off and ends it, and that
Yes.
and leaves you to process everything.
Yeah. No, it's a lot and it's hard because I've people have said mean things like people do, and it's like, you know what? I have gone through so much that I'm like, you don't have to process what it's like telling a 4-year-old that their dad died. Like, on one hand, I'm grateful they didn't have this super close relationship. He'd only seen him one time in like 9 months and like maybe a handful of FaceTimes. Like, I am a little bit grateful because I think my son and like how smart he is for his age, like would have been a lot harder to process. Another thing is I did get remarried when my son was so young. I mean, he was a little over 2 when we got married, but he was barely 1 when he met my husband. And so it's like that's been dad. So I think that's also easier of just like, oh, well, that's my dad. Like there's not even a difference. And then my husband adopted him this last summer, so he has the same last name as all of us now too.
I'm excited.
And yeah.
So he
So
can feel connected in that like,
yes. Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
sure he'll have more questions as he gets older, but it's
Oh my
like,
gosh, yes.
I mean, they always do. Like my mom committed suicide or died by suicide. I was trying to say
Yeah.
died by suicide instead. And
Yeah.
like you always have questions. And I was in a, like I was 17 when it happened. Like, but you always
Yeah.
have questions.
Yeah. And they arise over time too. I think like there's just even things like I process now and I ask questions and I'm just like, there's answers that I won't really ever get. I'm not close with either of his families, and that's just the relationship how it is now. Maybe that'll change in years to come, but protecting my peace and boundaries, that's not a safe space for me or my son to be in at this point. I'm close with some family members, just not all of them. And I think people think that grief is just this one big thing and you all process it and you move on. And it's like, no, grief is like something
No,
you're constantly processing. Like just even like little things. Like I went somewhere today and it was a place my ex and I had gone like years ago or whatever. And it's like, oh, like it triggers like just so many different things trigger certain emotions and how you feel.
no. And the whole like grief cycle is dumb because it's not, it's only about like one type of grief. Like
Hmm.
this grief cycle doesn't exist. Like it's
Yeah.
forever. Like
Yeah.
it's forever.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's incredible. Like I'm proud of you for
Thanks.
leaving and
Yeah.
knowing your worth and recreating and holding your boundaries. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
I hate when people say boundaries are like a bad thing and they're so scary and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, boundaries are the best thing. Like, you're not going to respect me as an individual and what I feel or say or whatever. That's fine. But then you don't need to be a part of my life if you can't respect that.
No, and also boundaries are there for everybody.
Yes.
Like I teach preschool and we talk about our
Yeah.
boundary voice
Yes.
and it doesn't mean someone's mad at you. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Like that's like one of the
Yeah.
conversations we have is like it's their boundary. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with you as a person. It's
Yeah.
just their boundary. And you
Yes.
have to respect it and they have to respect
Yep.
your boundaries.
Exactly.
Boundaries are amazing.
I love them.
I love seeing all your stuff though. I will link it all
Oh, thanks.
below. You do
Yes.
amazing.
Thank
Everyone needs to go watch
you.
it because you have the funnest
Uh,
content.
I try. I feel like I'm like too vulnerable for the internet sometimes. Like I'm like maybe
No,
that's like
you
why.
have to be. Don't let that go away. I feel like
I
that's
know.
what the internet needs more of is
Yeah.
vulnerability. Like,
Yes.
because everyone sees, I was just thinking about this the other day, like everyone, you see everyone's highlight reels, like you see what
Yeah.
everyone's doing good at.
Yeah.
And that's not the reality. Like,
No. Mm-mm.
we need vulnerability and we need to
We
like,
do.
and I love your momentum. It's momentum, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's
I
like
love you say it.
momentum, but like
I love it.
MOM is capitalized in the beginning. And I will be recording more episodes. So many people have asked me, when's your next episode? And I've been like, this weekend, this weekend. But I'm going to Arizona this week, and my brother-in-law does a lot of like podcasting and like editing and stuff. So I'm going there and gonna get a lot of advice from him so that I make sure you're like I'm doing stuff correctly because I jumped in it. I was like, great, order mic, great, let's do this. And then I was like, okay, wait, hold on. I want
Wait
this
a minute.
to do
It's harder
well.
than you think it's going to be. And it's hard.
Way.
Like I love podcasting is my favorite type of like social media to do. Like I
Yes.
love a
Yeah, yeah,
podcast,
yes.
but it takes so much more time.
No, it is freaking so hard because I think people like I edited, I had like 40 minutes of content yesterday from like a modeling shoot and I did cut it down to 1 minute. And that probably took me about, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. It like to sit and record a podcast though, an hour, 2 hours plus editing, plus uploading it to the right platforms, making sure everything is clean, and then
It
having
works.
clips for Instagram, TikTok. Like
Uh-huh.
it is a lot.
It is a lot and it takes a lot
Yes.
to do. But it is
Yes.
really fun. And thank you for being on here.
I love
It's
that
fun
we
to
were
talk
able
to you
to like,
again.
yes, I know. I love that we were like able to connect this way again too. Like so
Uh-huh.
crazy, literally like, I don't know, 10 years later essentially.
I know. For everyone who doesn't, we didn't talk about
Oh,
this one.
no,
We
we
went
didn't talk
to
about it.
Chili's together.
Yes.
Ah, good old Chili's.
Utah, Riverton, Utah, if you ever want to
Riverton,
hit that
Utah
chili dip.
Chili's. That was a good one. That was forever ago. You were still in
Oh,
high school, weren't you?
yeah, I was 16.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were babies. I was a baby. That was
Yeah.
before I was married.
I think you were like dating him though.
I was gonna say we got engaged. We met, gosh, when I was 20.
Okay.
We got engaged when I was 21 and then married at the end of or like September of that same year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was probably dating him and getting engaged at that time.
Yes. Yeah. Because it
It was
was in
wild.
2016, I think.
Yeah, we got married in 2016.
Okay. Yeah.
So wild.
So crazy. Yeah. You literally
Such a
trained me
different,
too.
whole different time and
I
world.
know. So it's so my husband and I were talking about how 10 years because I saw this post and it was, I don't know, it was like in 10 years and it was like how old my kids were going to be. And I was like, whoa. I'm like 10 years ago, I graduated high school. Like 10 years flies like
It does. Oh
crazy.
gosh, in 10 years, I was 17-year-old. I don't like that. We're not going to talk about it.
No, we're not going to talk about it.
We're
No, we're not.
not going to think about that one.
Nope, we're moving on.
No,
Moving on.
7 already feels too big.
Yes. Ah,
Okay, well, I will link all your stuff and thank you so much for talking to me again.
yes. Thanks for having me. I had a blast.
First, thank you for telling me your story. It's a great one.
Yes. Thank you.